A radio emergency broadcast reports a violent riot at a prison facility involving over 600 inmates. The broadcast also issues a warning about a specific individual believed to be armed and extremely dangerous. The scene shifts to a blood-soaked woman being rushed to the hospital in an ambulance. However, the moment the ambulance doors are opened at the hospital, the medical staff are shocked to find that the woman has transformed into a snarling zombie, confirming that a viral outbreak has occurred, starting from the prison. The virus transforms the infected into aggressive zombies, throwing the world into chaos and pushing humanity to the brink of extinction. Later, a military general briefs a special force team about their mission to rescue a scientist named Dr. Rains, who may hold the key to creating a cure. According to the latest intelligence, the military had narrowed down the whereabouts of the expert to 4 potential quarantine zones. However, the special force has only 72 hours to locate the expert before the military launches a full-scale assault to completely annihilate the area. The special force team arrives at the first designated location. Though they were mentally prepared for the worst, the reality hit hard as the once thriving city was now a devastated wasteland with corpses scattered everywhere. As they reached their first checkpoint, a massive wave of zombies ambushed them. Outnumbered and surrounded, they fought fiercely while tactically retreating. But there were no signs of the expert there, so they geared up to move to the next location. On the way, they discovered an armored vehicle and a tank, giving them a huge mobility advantage. As they advanced, desperate survivors begged them for help, but with strict orders to find the virus specialist, they had no choice but to leave the civilians behind. Their second stop was a large building, where things took an unexpected turn. The zombies inside weren't mindless anymore. They'd retained certain behaviors and had even developed new combat tactics. They now used weapons and tools, forcing the team into a brutal and chaotic battle. During the fight, Rodrigo accidentally triggered a landmine. While the explosion wasn't fatal, it drew more zombies toward them. In the chaos, Jacob got surrounded. His teammates helped him escape, but he'd already been bitten. They discovered a laboratory at the site, likely used by the virus expert, but neither the scientist nor a cure for Jacob was there, and with no other choice, Jacob took his own life before he could turn. Knowing night missions would be too risky, the team chose to stay in the lab until morning. At first light, they continued toward the next location. Along the way, they encountered a massive pit overflowing with corpses. Just then, Simon noticed a tank approaching, not manned by soldiers, but by infected zombies. Realizing they couldn't fight them, the team hid among the corpses, pretending to be dead. However, the zombies were far more intelligent than expected. They discovered Perry and dragged him away. Perry, now in captivity, found himself in a zombie-controlled camp filled with other imprisoned survivors who were being treated like cattle, kept alive only to feed the infected. These zombie troops were well structured, some guarding the perimeter, others scavenging for food. To Perry's shock, he recognized the virus expert among the captives and quickly relayed the discovery to Captain Marcus. The special force then observed the camp from a distance and successfully sneaked into the container. Though the original plan was to extract just the expert, Marcus couldn't ignore the hopelessness of the other captives and chose to try saving them all. However, a female soldier standing guard noticed a large group of zombies was pouring out and alerted Marcus. Chaos erupted as the survivors were gunned down and the team scattered. In the chaos, Simon was bitten while shielding the expert. He told Frank to escape with the scientist and stayed behind to hold off the undead. Frank managed to extract the expert and ordered the team to fall back. Meanwhile, Marcus and the female soldier returned to rescue Simon. From afar, Frank saw them, but chose to leave without hesitation. Elsewhere, 2 sisters were attacked. The older sister sacrificed herself to save the younger, and the female soldier rushed in to rescue the girl just in time. Knowing he was close to turning, Simon stayed behind once more to cover their escape. Later, Frank and his team arrived at a prison laboratory. Frank, consumed by rage, blamed the entire catastrophe on the expert and confronted him in fury. Just when things threatened to spiral out of control, Captain Marcus stepped in and defused the situation. Unbeknownst to the others, Marcus had already placed a tracker on the expert. Pushed by Marcus's relentless questioning, the expert finally unveiled the truth. It had all started with the military's secret involvement in this very prison. The military had secretly funded the expert to carry out genetic modifications on human subjects inside this prison, hoping to develop an army of super soldiers. Innocent inmates were used as lab rats. Most experiments failed horrifically, leading to monstrous mutations. But one experiment succeeded, which escaped the prison, and he was the true source of the outbreak. The next day, Marcus prepared to hand the expert over to the general. At the designated meeting point, Marcus met the general, who arrived via helicopter. Right then, the expert passed Marcus a notebook filled with critical information. He warned Marcus that things were far more complex than they appeared, and urged him to protect the little girl at all costs and flee while he still could. Marcus grew suspicious, but didn't expect what happened next. The general, who turned out to be the true mastermind, pulled out a gun and executed the expert on the spot. He wanted to ensure no traces of the experiment remained, and killing the expert was his way of burying the truth. Shockingly, Frank and Perry had been secretly working with the general, but when the general tried to flee with the research data, abandoning everyone else, Frank snapped and shot a soldier, but was then gunned down by the general. Marcus stepped in, but was caught in the sights of another soldier. Frank threw himself in front of Marcus and saved his life. Marcus seized the opportunity and killed the enemy soldier. The gunshots attracted a swarm of zombies, and during the escape, the little girl was bitten, but they managed to get away. But then, something unexpected happened. By the next day, the little girl showed no signs of infection. Flipping through the expert's notebook, Marcus discovered that the girl was actually the daughter of Patient Zero. Her blood carried natural antibodies, and she had been the key all along. Before he could process more, a group of armed survivors arrived, captured Marcus and the girl, and took them to their base. To save their lives, Marcus revealed the military's plan to bomb the entire area. Realizing time was short, he and the group's leader agreed on a desperate strategy: gather every remaining survivor and break through the infected zone before the bombs dropped. They gathered every living soul inside the zone and fought with everything they had. Marcus was bitten during the clash, but they managed to wipe out most of the zombies and make it to the edge of the quarantine zone, where armed military forces stood guard. But instead of firing, the soldiers hesitated, as these were civilians, not monsters. Then the general appeared and ordered his men to shoot, but they still didn't act. Marcus, infected, but still conscious and filled with fury, confronted the general. A fierce, final battle broke out between the two, and Marcus finally defeated the man responsible for it all. However, to stop the spread of the infection, the soldiers had no choice but to shoot Marcus. In his final moments, Marcus ensured that the little girl, humanity's last hope, escaped the infected zone safely, and his mission was finally complete.